Back tonight on In Focus, and reporting continues now. Newzroom Afrika, Channel 405. Volume 5 of the State Capture report was, of course, expected to be handed over formally to President Cyril Ramaphosa in Pretoria today. But there are conflicting reports, as we are hearing from our reporter, Dumalo Mshari, as to when that final report will actually be handed over. Now, this report comes at a period of volatile political storm about accountability at the highest echelons of government. If anything, what have we learned from the Commission of Inquiry? Joining us now to answer that question and more is Moepeng Talane, senior journalist and editor with Corruption Watch. Moepeng, good evening and thank you very much for your time and for joining us today here on In Focus. First and foremost, I mean, the broad question is, as far as citizens are concerned, are citizens now a little bit more aware of the ways and means of holding public officials accountable for their actions?
Thanks, Tabo. Good evening to you and to your viewers, of course, and thank you very much for having me. I would say the commission was a very great eye-opener. It may have come with a lot of expenses and over quite a lot of time, but nevertheless, it showed us what could go wrong within our government structures and who to look to in terms of what happens when things do go wrong and how to perhaps pursue, the process of holding senior leaders of government to account. So yes, I think to a simple answer to your question would be yes. Yeah. It has been a great lesson really in how citizens can hold leaders to account.
I've already mentioned, I mean, we are involved in some massive political storm here around accountability, particularly in the office of the president. So we also saw during the hard lockdown time of the pandemic, when there was a scary thing that was busy eating up people out there, that we still were dealing with malfunctioning governments that remain unaccountable and widespread phenomena of corruption across parts of government. So then one asks the question, has it reduced the space for misappropriation of public funds?
Are you asking if the commission has done it?
Yes.
I think what it's done is it's laid bare, like I said earlier, what can go wrong in terms of systems of government and what structures can be misused or compromised by those who have the influence and power to do so. Importantly, also what it has also shown us is that it's important to keep going back to the drawing board in terms of how you run your democracy or you run your democratic government. Keep going back to the drawing board and question whether or not it's enough to have certain laws in place, if certain loopholes of those laws or policies cannot be circumvented, as we have been hearing over the course of the 4 years. So the important thing is, in order to make accountability, a working principle of government all the time, we have to keep looking back at whether or not the structures that we have in place, the laws that we have in place, are indeed working for in the public interest.
Yeah, I suppose maybe let me put it this way, a more direct question. Has it made public officials and politicians think twice when they want to misappropriate money and maybe even use patronage for their own political gains?
Unfortunately, that answer is going to be answered over that question rather. Sorry, is going to be answered over time. How the recommendations of such a process such as the commission will be implemented will show whether or not there is a response, a positive response from politicians and people within very powerful and influential positions in government. Just this morning, we heard from the Auditor General's office how at local government level there seems to have been that degenerating process of just not making accountability a principle from which to work as public officials. So I would not say that at this point we're at a good time, a good place to assess whether or not there will be such changes, but over time and over implementation processes, of course, of the recommendations of the Commission, we will be able to see whether or not it has really had the impact that we would hope it would.
Yeah. And what have we learned about our anti-corruption machinery of state in South Africa and its fitness for purpose?
We have great laws. We have great policies that help prevent such things from happening. But what we have not had is a great deal of enforcement that is proportional to the greatness of those laws. So what we have is a situation where those who know which buttons to press in order to circumvent laws and policies have been doing that successfully, unfortunately. And it's come to a point where the state has lost so much money from the public purse, of course, and of course confidence of its citizens as well. At the end of the day, it's you and I who wish for accountability from public officials, because it's our tax money that gets used every day in this regard.
Yeah. And has this advanced, I suppose, the conversation in a sense around a permanent special independent entity to look into corruption?
Absolutely. More than anything, I think what is it's up for argument here, but I think more than anything, what the Commission has helped to highlight for us is that there are many honest public officials out there who are willing to put a lot on the line and blow the whistle and expose what they see happening that should not be happening. And their protection, their support is paramount to making sure that people are emboldened, public officials are emboldened and empowered and encouraged at all times to keep reporting corruption and to basically to keep the conversation, to help us keep the conversation around anti-corruption work within the public service going. Without whistleblowers, as we have seen over the course of the duration of the Commission, we may not have had the opportunity to unearth as much detail as what has been put out into the public domain. So whistleblower protection support as great, as much as possible, we need to protect our whistleblowers, particularly within the public service, and to support them as well, and encourage that more people be able to blow the whistle on corruption and expose it for what it is.
So, I mean, there's also been a lot of talk, particularly with the NPA and the work that they are doing and the usefulness of international treaty obligations and whether or not those need to be revisited. Are they worth the paper that they are written on? We are, of course, now involved in the process of extraditing the Guptas into the country, but there was also, I mean, challenges and questions about following the money trail, where money has left the country and gone into banks overseas and so on and so forth. Do we need to tighten things there?
Like I said earlier, we have to understand our systems to be the kind that need to evolve with time. I mean, we can't sit back. We're at a point where we don't have the luxury of saying the state capture period is over and we can relax now. And a commission for inquiry has found 1, 2, and 3. We have to keep our eyes on the ball at all times. And law enforcement agencies cannot obviously sit back. They have to be capacitated. They have to be supported and well funded for that, for such research to actually materialize and for action to actually be taken. So yeah, we cannot sit back and relax. We have to keep our eye on the ball and evolve as and when there is necessity for that to happen.
Moepeng Talane, appreciate your time. Thank you very much for coming on. Senior journalist and editor at Corruption Watch there. That's Moepeng Talane.